Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we got lined up for you today. SAS Who Dares Wins star Jason Fox will be here. We'll be taking on his toughest challenge yet as he battles my crew for a piece of steak a little bit later. I promise you that's going to be a battle. Top chef Paul Ainsworth will be treating us to some sensational Cornish seafood. He's here a little bit later. He's working his way up the motorway at the moment. And we'll be heading down to the pub to enjoy a plate of classic fish and chips from Mr. James Tanner. And the most important bit of today, my TV dad, Mr. Brian Turner, will be back at the house. He's back with a hearty dish that's perfect for this time of the year. And don't miss this week's Little Masterclass. We'll be teaching you everything you want to know about shallots. And that's not all, because a good friend of ours, and mine, is in the kitchen as well. His restaurants have taken the Newcastle food scene by storm. It's the brilliant Kenny Atkinson. Ching, ching, chefy. I was going to clink the glasses as well, really, with you. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. How are you?
Congratulations. Last time you were here, one restaurant. Next time you're here, two restaurants.
I know. Popping up like kids.
And?
It's going well.
Going well?
Yeah, really happy. So we've been open for 6 months now, so couldn't ask for a better start.
But I thought to kick things off today, we're going to start with pudding, if that's all right. We're going to start with a lemon roulade. So we've got some lemon curd, and I've got some lovely preserved fruits, which I've got over here, that we're going to be finding more about where this company comes from that I'm going to use to fill this. But first of all, this sort of lemon curd roulade, it starts off with egg whites, first of all, particularly, well, obviously for our meringue. So I'm using sort of medium eggs for this. So what we want to do is take these out, clean them up like this. So there's going to go in there. So we're just going to take 5 medium eggs in here. So break them up. Keep the yolks as well, because these are amazing for custards and bits and pieces. A little bit of hollandaise, that kind of stuff. But we're going to take these. So the key to this, really, in making this meringue, is the cooking side of it. That's the most important bit. Because the roulade side of it, you want to be able to roll this all up. So the meringue is just it's kind of your usual static meringue, really. That's the usual. And then what we're going to do is whisk this all up. So this will just get whisked up. Now, you can use old egg whites. A lot of people say you use old egg whites. A lot of people freeze the egg whites. It's entirely up to you. But the key to this is the sugar side of it. And what we're trying to do is make this. That's what we're going to end up with. And for that, while this is whipping up, we can get our tray ready. Now, I'm going to use sort of a large, well, Swiss roll tin. Normally Swiss roll tins are much bit smaller than this, but I'm going to take out a little bit of paper and cut this, and just to show you how to do this properly. So rather than just pop this straight in, what you can do is just trim this off to the size of the tin, and I'll show you how to do it where you get actually no creases to the corners, because when you're doing a roulade, whether it's a sponge or meringue, you don't want any creases in the corners, because then it all sticks and then you cannot take it off properly. So what you want to do is, when you get the paper like that, and it's about sort of roughly an inch all the way around, that's what you're looking for, get yourself a pair of scissors and cut through in each corner. Now, all the while the egg whites are whipping up. Most important bit of that, by the way, is grease. Don't get any grease in it. So that will, or oil, that'll collapse the egg whites. Once you get to that stage, a little bit of butter. That's just used to acts as like the little glue for the paper, really, you want in there. And then when you put the paper in, and you push it, it'll go into the corners and set into the corners, and you won't get any creases. So that goes in there. So it just sits nicely into the corners like that. So you can see it fits perfectly into those edges. That's exactly what we want, so it folds over. So when you tip it all out, you don't get any crease into it. So the egg whites over here are now ready. They're just nice and firm. And then ye old-fashioned, I remember doing this at college. You used to have to fold the last in by third. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
But nowadays, you gradually pour it in, saving the remaining third to the end, tip it straight in. And the machine will actually you can hear it drop down a gear, and that'll start to firm up. Give it a good sort of 30 seconds, like that, and that's your meringue done. Now, some recipes will tell you to use parts icing sugar, parts caster sugar. It's entirely up to you. But this is this one, for this one. We're going to take a nice little bit of meringue, and then I'm going to spread it into our tray. Now, I did say we were going to introduce you to some of this because I know you've got a layer of spoons there that you're going to be trying some of this, Kenny.
Oh, yes.
So hopefully, I can see him on the screen now. We're going to head to Kent to speak to Jeff Higgins from the Wooden Spoon Company. Now, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Yes, hello.
You're looking quite relaxed here, watching me cook as I'm doing over here. Now, tell us how the company started, because you've been running this company for quite a long time now. So tell us where it all started.
Well, I'm actually looking what you're doing. It's quite interesting. So I just need to focus, change my change of thought. But yes, company started in 1975. It was the father of a friend of mine that started it in almost retirement. He was in the food business, and he quite fancied setting up a food business of his own. And he got his wife and mother to start cooking whilst he was finishing off his role. And then he launched it, and his first customer was Fortnum & Mason. So from in 1975, first customer, we start at the top.
Well, you certainly did start at the top for the first customer as well, but there's still the same ethos, really? You said about got his family to start cooking. You're still doing stuff in small batches, still handmade sort of stuff. You still got that ethos of quality, and that's stood the test of time.
Well, we do a lot of products. We do far too many, but we'll do anything from jams, marmalades, our speciality, our bottled fruits and curds. We do no added sugar spreads, and everything's done in small batches. So the biggest run of jars we'll do in one go will be about 300 of a normal 12-ounce jar, and they're done in combination, depending on the product, in the bain-marie kettles or on gas kettles and cookers. They're filled by hand or by machine, depending on the product, and mostly labelled by hand.
So now I've been familiar with this. I'm going to tell you the reason why in a minute. I'm just going to get this in the oven. So what we do is just take the little bit of almonds. That's the meringue that I've just spread on the tray. You pop this first of all. This is the key to the roulade. Is you pop it in first of all, 180 degrees for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, drop the temperature down to 160 degrees for another 10 minutes. I got asked the other day, I was at a food show, somebody said, can you do Aga temperatures on television? So I said, if you've got an Aga, go around to somebody else's house and use a normal oven. Because I haven't got a clue what temperature it's in there, but to be honest with you, but that goes in there. I'm just going to whip up this cream. Now, I actually started a little delicatessen. I remember a long time ago, 27 years ago in Winchester, I took over a little delicatessen, and we actually sold your produce, Jeff, that was in our little delicatessen. So, first of all, I'm glad to see it's still going, but you mentioned that the range has increased, and now we've got a range of bits and pieces. I'm going to use the lemon curd. So how would you make your lemon curd in small batches conventionally to how people do it at home?
Well, I mean, we use, obviously, slightly bigger pans than somebody at home would, but we use bain-marie, electric bain-marie. In fact, agitators, a bit similar to the machine you've got there, but maybe a little bit bigger. To make lemon curd, it needs a bain-marie. You can't have full heat on the metal reacting with the product, otherwise the egg will curdle stroke, will cook. So to get the temperature right, to get the lemon curd to homogenise and not separate is a bit of an art.
But it's always been about great ingredients. You mentioned the fact that you've got, your preserved fruits as well. I'll let you go on, Kenny. You can have a taste of some of these. But, you're still, the quality of the ingredients has stood the test of time, Whereas a lot of people are cutting corners. You've never done that. It's always been about that same ethos of when it first started over 50 years ago to what it is now.
We've not changed the way we do things. Obviously, we can't get all the ingredients or the fruits seasonally, locally, but we do what we can on that front. But batches are small. I mean, you're looking there at, I think, a bottle of fruits. I think you're looking at a rum top jar. I don't know if that's what you're looking at right now. Absolutely. But that, for example...
These are delicious, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the juice.
I mean, that's worthy of a cooking programme on its own, because it's layers of fruit that people put in seasonally. As a fruit comes into the garden, you get a jar, you put a layer of fruits, then sugar over the top, and then top it with rum, close the lid, and wait for the next fruit to mature, put the next layer of fruit, sugar, rum, fruit, sugar, rum, fruit, sugar, rum, until the jar is full. And it's one of those products you don't even need to pasteurize it because there's so much sugar and rum in it that it'll last forever, and it tastes delicious.
It's quite an old medieval way of preserving, isn't it?
It tastes fantastic, doesn't it? I think it tastes absolutely delicious. So I know you've got one eye. I love how you're sat there just chilling out in my little empire of it. I'm running around like a complete nutter.
Well, yeah, yes, I don't quite know how else to sit.
But look,
sit straight. How about that?
No, you're right. You're right. It's quite. Look, we just got on here our little. Now I was going to do this. I was going to mix together the lemon curd with this, but this is as you do it. You sort of adapt. Kenny knows what I'm talking about. You adapt the recipe as you go in, as you're making it. But I've just tipped this over, and you've got your cream and bits and pieces in here. Probably put a little bit more cream in there. Why not? So I'll just put a little bit more cream. This is just normal whipped cream, no sugar, because obviously you don't need it, because the meringue. I've got on here the pan's cooking away with our caramel, and then I'm going to take this lemon curd, which...
It's insane. That is insane.
I want you to taste this. I want you to taste this, because this is... I remember working behind the delicatessen back when I think I bought it in my 20s, something like that, and I remember tasting this and thinking, this is the reason why I do it. This must be still one of your biggest sellers, isn't it, the lemon curd?
It is one of the biggest sellers, and we do a range of curds, but the lemon curd is by far the best seller. We do it for a lot of small restaurants and cafes, and in fact bigger restaurants in slightly bigger jars. It would help actually if you had a tub.
Well, Jeff, I wish you all the very best of luck with it. I fell in love with it in my 20s when I had this little delicatessen, and I'm so glad you've taken it over, and I'm so glad it's going so well. So best of luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you. A pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers, boss. Thank you very much. This is your roulade. You lift it off and the cloth like that, and you can then just roll this over like that. And then I've got the sugar. So you've got the sweetness, obviously, with everything else, but then what you want to do is you take just caster sugar, take it as a caramel, and then I'm just going to pour that over the top. And the whole idea of this then sets and it goes crunchy.
It's that almost toffee apple effect, isn't it?
You want that toffee apple, but you need to leave it a couple of minutes before I give it to Kenny, otherwise he'll need to go to A&E and a dentist, to be honest. But it's like, give it a go if you want, but no, I'll leave it a little bit. But the idea of that is you just leave it and just cut it through, and there you have your lemon meringue roulade. Easy as that. Right, Kenny, do you like a piece?
I'd love a piece.
But that's the thing with this, look, it just goes this... Oh. Look at that. And then, of course, you've got to have a little more dollop of the curd as well, on it as well, but...
Oh, look at that. Oh. The perfect breakfast.
That's a perfect breakfast. This is round at my house.
That was insane.
All right.
Oh, it's better than all right.
I mean, the lemon curd. You can use any of these sort of fruits in there as well, but...
Lemon curd just does it.
I think the salted caramel, if you use that, I think the kids would be jumping off the ceiling if you started using that with the amount of stuff that's in there, but there you go.
Brilliant.
Easy as that. Now, Kenny will be cooking a seasonal dish for us a little bit later. What's on the menu?
So I'm going to do a beautiful roast squab pigeon with a date glaze, seasoned with rose petals.
A date glaze?
A date glaze.
A date glaze?
And I'm going to do a caramelised artichoke.
A glaze of dates?
And yeast puree.
That's what it's going to be doing. We'll put subtitles on it as well. And we've got recipes on the way from Mr. Paul Ainsworth. But join us again after the break. We'll be heading down to the pub where Chef James Tanner will be cooking a pub classic. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, there's a masterclass in onions and shallots in store for you a little bit later, and I'll be cooking for SAS Who Dares Win star Jason Fox very shortly. But before that, I'm here with Kenny and Paul, who I thought I'd take a look at some of the dishes you've been cooking at home. First of all, welcome to the house, Paul.
Thank you very much.
But you're going to like this one. First up, we've got Jane Taylor has recreated that apple and frangipane slice that Paul made on the show a few weeks ago. What do you reckon of that one?
Jane, that is absolutely epic.
It's all right, that one.
That
isn't it?
looks
I think I
fantastic.
want to give yours a run for its money, to be
Oh,
honest
it's
with you.
better than mine.
You just haven't quite mastered the spun sugar that was on the top and about and the gold leaf.
And the gold leaf, and it's missing a cup of Yorkshire tea.
Exactly, but it's great.
But,
effort, great
Jane, please send us your email address. I'd like to give you a job.
There you go, right, there you have it, there you go. Next, we've got a photograph of Kate Pritchard, who's been inspired by the skate masterclass I did a couple of months ago. What do you rate of that one?
Yeah.
Nice and simple with a brown butter. And finally, top marks this week goes to James England, who made this stunning plate of venison. Now, check this out. Pretty good, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does any of these guys want a job?
I love how they put the leaves on it as well. It's just, yeah, it's brilliant.
Fantastic, yeah.
There you go.
Great
Now, do keep
picture.
sending your pictures and videos coming in. You can see they need staff in their restaurants. I can tell you that straight away. We'd love to see what you've been inspired to cook at home. OK, we're keeping the food coming thick and fast this morning, and now it's time for another classic pub recipe. While Paul's about to put that potted fruit in his pocket. This week, I know him too long. That lemon curd's going to be in his pocket. In fact,
I would have done if the lid weren't
I know
off.
you would have done. Exactly. Why do you think I took the lids off? I know him too well. This week, Chef James Tanner will be showcasing how to make the perfect fish and chips and this week's little masterclass of his own. Enjoy this one. Keep the machine for myself. Unplug that, you're not having that.
So today we're making fish and chips. It's all about the batter, a little bit different though on this one, so bear with me because you'll think, what is that guy doing? But check this out. Down here, we got some plain flour, a vast amount of yeast. Look at that, fresh block yeast. If you did want to replicate this recipe, but you don't really want to go to a pub and eat it, you could use dried yeast as well. And then that all-important element, cheers. Not for me, it's for the batter. So, simple as this. We take the flour, we get the yeast and we crumble it. Now, obviously, if it is dried yeast, you just pour this straight in. Next up, pinch of sugar. This feeds the yeast. And then for flavour, a pinch of salt. Not too much salt, though, because it will kill the yeast. So you've got to get that balance right. Now, we just slowly combine everything. In with the beer. I'm using quite a light lager beer. If you use the darker beer, obviously, you're going to have a darker style batter. And you might think, wow, it's a lot of yeast and a yeasty element. But this recipe, think of it like a bread dough. We're going to prove this for an hour before you need it. As you can see, everything starts to dissolve, comes together. Get all of those thick elements coming together like so. And it'll give you that great batter. Now, like I said, you need to prove the batter. The batter will rise up and then it will drop back down again. And that's really part of the important process. So that yeast inside it is alive and it's got wonderful fizziness to the batter. So I've got one done, obviously. Got this one in a different bowl, but if I lift the bowl up, do you see these marks around the outside? That's where it's risen up over the hour period, and we've done it at room temperature. It doesn't have to be anywhere too majorly hot. So to me, I know that that batter is ready, it's at room temp, and it's had its time. Now, it is fish and chips, but these aren't any normal chips. Oh, yes, triple cooked chips. And this is how you do it, or this is how we do it at our pub. We take great quality potatoes. King Edward's Cara potatoes are fantastic. Got some water just coming up to a simmer now on the pan. In they go. A good pinch of salt goes in there. And I would leave these chips now just to simmer for around about 10 minutes. We're going to drain them. And what I do at the pub is I put them on we do vast amounts of these. I put them on a wire rack and then place them on a tray, and I put them in the fridge. So the idea is you don't cover them when they're in the fridge, and the cold air in the fridge actually dries them out. And you see how some of the skins have started coming off, and it's not perfect anymore. It's slightly looking a bit ripply effect. Well, that's how you get that ultimate crispy effect on the finished chip. So that is stage one. Now, stage two is 130 to 140 degrees in a deep fat fryer. And in they go for a good 6 to 8 minutes. With the fish that we're using today, I'm using haddock. It's more sustainable haddock. You could use hake for this one. You could use pollock as well. If you can get sustainable cod, which is getting so much more rarer now, then by all means use that. I've got myself some flour, just plain flour. To that, touch of salt. A little bit of sea salt on this one, so I'm just crushing it in my fingers as I do it. And then just give it a very, very slight mix. OK. So we take our fish fillets and we're just going to coat each side in the seasoned flour mixture. And I'll do one more as well. Let's do one more. And there. Now, let's get over to the fryer. First up, remember the chips that I spoke about? So those are the blanched, chilled chips that we left in the fridge to cool down. 130 to 140 degrees, as long as it's in that area, 6 to 8 minutes. That's the second stage. Stage 3 is this. I'm going to lift up the basket into the next fryer, and that's set at 180 degrees. That is stage 3 of our triple cooked chips. So I'm going to dip the fish in the batter. Both pieces are going to go in there, OK? We make sure that it's completely coated. And then we're going to lift the fish by the tail and leave it to hang ever so slightly, and then just use the side of the bowl to take the excess and then lay it into that fryer. 2 minutes roughly until golden. Flip it, give it another 2 minutes. By that point, your fish should be cooked perfectly, and more importantly, those chips should have a lovely, slightly broken crust. So we're going to leave that to cook, but we make sure that they don't stick. So I'm just going to get rid of this bowl. OK, so look, the fish is starting to get that golden colour. Another minute or so, just to finish the other side of the fish, like we said. And then it's really important, already, we've thought about drainage. Now, you could use paper kitchen towel, or it's very chefy, this, J-cloth, but they're really good at extracting excess moisture and oil, more importantly. There's nothing worse than greasy fish and chips. Let's think about plating things up. Now, we want to get as much oil off it as possible, OK? So we leave it to sit here. Let's get that there. Really super, super crispy. With the chips, really make sure we drain off that excess oil. Very, very important. Now, don't be tempted just to stack everything up because it will sweat. And if you do that, everything will start to go soft on you, and you'll want to retain that crunch and that bite, OK? Time to plate up. Let's go in with a nice, generous wedge of lemon. So let's have a nice pot of peas on the side. And then for the fish and chips, a little sprinkling of salt. And then with the chips, let's serve them up in our pot. And then the star of the show, our beer-battered haddock. And that is how I serve my fish and chips at the pub.
Now, fish and chip batter. It's it's political. It's seasonal. It's regional. How do you make yours?
Really, really simple, our one.
What, out of a packet of water?
Yeah, yeah. When we, as you know, with the pub, I always found with beer, it was like all the sugar in the beer, so we just use flour, sparkling water, pinch of salt, but a really fizzy water, and then like we change it like every 45 minutes so it stays nice and bubbly and like alive, and that's it.
Mine's gluten-free flour, gluten-free self-raising flour, and fizzy cider.
Yeah.
And you want that sort of fizzy cider, that headache cider that you used to have when you were at college. That one, that sort of fizzy cider.
Headache cider. yeah, I know the one. Yeah.
Now, Kenny, you'll be cooking for later on. You're going to be doing, what are you going to be cooking?
I'm going to do roast grilled pigeon.
Yes.
With the deer glaze.
Yeah.
Flavoured with rose petals and a caramelised artichoke and yeast puree.
And you're going to be tasting it as well.
Yeah,
There you go. But Paul treating us to an amazing dish of turbot.
Yes, we're going to do some beautiful roast turbot. I'm going to get you to open some cockles, clams and mussels and just a really nice, like,
I thought I'd be put to work, and we'll see you back in a few minutes where I'll be cooking outside in the pizza oven for SAS Who Dares Win star Jason Fox. He's very excited. Very excited. Very excited. See you in a bit.
So is my wife.
Welcome back. Now, coming up, we've got a masterclass in shallots and onions, and Chef Kenny Atkinson will be taking over the kitchen very shortly. But first, I'm here with a former Special Forces soldier who's best known for putting civilians and celebrities through their paces on SAS Who Dares Wins. It's the brilliant Jason Fox! Yay! Mr. Paul Ainsworth is here as well. So, Jason, welcome to the house.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the house. So, I thought, what am I going to cook you? And I looked at all the loves that you like in terms of food, and I thought steak was the one that stands out. So I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to do you a massive, great rump steak, if that's all right.
That's more than all right.
That's more than all right. So we've got rump steak, we've got some sirloin steak here, but I've got this rump steak, and I thought what we'd do is we use this stuff called koji, and I've used it on the show before. It's fermented rice. So we're just going to take our mixture like this, and what you do is you rub it all over the steak and just leave it to marinate for no more than sort of 8 hours, and you can see what happens between the difference of the colours and the meat. It changes the structure. You use this a few times, don't you? Really? And then what we're going to do is we're going to wipe this off or wash it off and then pat it dry, and then Paul's going to get that started in the oven. But you just rub it over the top, first of all, and leave it like that. That's my tea later, once everybody's gone. That's all going to go on there. But first of all, can I start off, and what a story. I don't know where to start, really. But can we start right back to before you were 16, before you joined the army?
Right.
School wasn't your thing,
No,
was it, really?
It wasn't. I didn't really do so well academically. I enjoyed being outdoors.
Yeah.
I grew up, I went to school just outside a town called Luton.
Yeah.
And, yeah, somehow, at the age of 16, I had the presence of mind to realise that I needed to get out and do something. And my dad had been in the Marines, but that was years before, so there was a sort of... There was a little bit of influence.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I grew up in a military family where there was loads of discipline flying around and, you know, we had to get up and do room inspections and whatever.
I mean, but we talk about the Marines, and what was that like going from a 16-year-old kid going down to Luton, from Luton, going down there and in your training? I mean, that must have been... But that steps you to where you went, where you progressed. That's nothing from where you were, but as a stepping stone, going into that.
The stepping stone, it was massive, because I turned up thinking I knew it all. I'd read a few books.
Yeah.
I was a 16-year-old lad, so fitness wasn't really that issue. You can sort of get on with anything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that bothered me. I literally turned up and it was horrendous. You know, the fact that I had to learn how to manage my time, wash my clothes, iron them, they had to be pristine, like all that stuff before. I had a mum.
Yeah.
She was brilliant at it. Yeah, it was just, it was a completely different environment than...
But then I suppose the camaraderie, you've got a camaraderie with like-minded people that want to push forward and do stuff like that. When was the moment, because you were in the Marines for, quite some years.
10 years.
And when was the moment then that the Special Forces came through? Was that, do you get asked to put forward? Is it something that you're in the Marines and go, do you do that, or do you have to put yourself forward?
It is as simple. All you do, if you want to do it, you fill out a form. That's it. You put the form in and then...
You fill out a form, Paul.
Yeah,
that's where you went wrong, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul wasn't available when that form was put through his letterbox. You fill out a form, that was it?
That's it, yeah. You fill out a form, a request to go on Special Forces selection, and then you wait for the sort of call-up.
Is it right? I was reading, I was fascinated about this, read your book as well, but it was 350 people on the course to be in the Special Forces. There was less than a handful of you at the end.
Yeah, there was I think...
Within a week, there was 60 left?
Well, by the end of the first phase, so it was about 350. It was a big course. It was like, a super course, whatever they want to call it. And literally the first phase is 4 weeks long, and at the end of that 4 weeks, there was literally we'd gone down to 60 people, and it was like, and I, you know, you turn up on day one, and I was quite a skinny, you know, I was just a skinny young lad, and you look around and there's some like absolute Greek gods, and you're like, oh. Have I bitten off more than I can chew here? And then after like the
surely a lot of this, I mean, people watching the show will realise that it's the mind is more than the body in terms of physical strength, do you?
Yeah, you learn that as you go along, because at week 3 you look around and you suddenly realise there's hardly anyone there. And you're like, ah, there's all the Greek gods got. Yeah. And you're like, I am somebody.
Right, OK.
Love that.
And is it, I mean, is it the confidence that breed in you as well? Because when you're doing that, and I suppose it's non-stop training. You know, although you get through the selection, you know, I was reading again about all the stuff you've gone on to do. You then go into secondary training and third training and more and more and more.
The selection is, like, at the time it is hard, and you're like, wow, how the hell am I going to get through this? And how long is it? It is a slog. It's not very glamorous, it's a slog, but then you finish, and then you go into your actual sort of real-life training, and it's like, hang on a minute. This is the story of your life, and this is you're going out there at the moment, and you're putting all this out on stage. So you're talking about it on stage. How is that for you? Because it's a different thing altogether, isn't it? It's been gradual, to be honest, because obviously the TV thing happened, and then eventually I was offered or asked if I would do a live show, and I was like, absolutely not. I couldn't think of anything more petrifying. And then as the conversation developed, I was like, hang on a minute. Here I am talking or telling people to push themselves out of their comfort zone, and I'm point blank refusing to do it. So I thought I should probably embrace it a little bit. Because
television, what you first of all said no to it. I mean, I said no to it. I remember being a chef in Winchester, just down the road, and I remember saying no to it, thinking, nah, I don't want to be doing that. Yeah. But it's an amazing medium. It's an amazing medium for particularly what you went through, because if you don't mind, you talk about you left the army, the mental health you talk about as well, because I think that's so important to talk about it. How do you go from you were with a family? How do you do that? 1 week you're with the family in the UK, the next minute you're posted anywhere else in the world in some situation. How do you cope with that? Or I
don't think I did. I think that was the point. I didn't get the balance right, to be honest. And so going away, I actually found that easy. The job of being I was trained to be a soldier to a really high degree, and doing that wasn't so bad. Yeah, it was a catalyst, and it did, impact my mental health once it started to spiral, downhill. But for me, it was dealing with normal life. I had a real issue with getting that balance right and understanding how I dealt with normal things, because ultimately I was never taught to deal with an argument with a missus or...
But to do that, I mean, we talk. Look, there's loads of things we could talk. But you're supposed to be asking questions as well. You're too busy cooking the steak.
I'm just listening. Absolutely fascinating.
So we've got here our steak, which is just cooked in the. You can do this in a conventional oven, but you just want to cook this. The key to this is don't put it on the barbecue straight away, because you'll see what happens. Once it's been in the koji and it's been in the barbecue, it starts to flame up quite substantially. So we're going to finish this off on here and then just finish off the cooking of it in the oven. So tell me about the television then, because you can't have imagined it gone on to be the success that it's gone on to. What do you think makes it so special?
I think a lot of it is to do with the casting of the recruits. They call them the recruits, the contestants, whatever you want to call them. I think getting that right is key to making it really interesting. And then the fact that we dig into their backstories, and they're all there for a reason, and we're trying to work out what that... I think they're trying to work out what that reason is as well, and I think that's why people watch it.
Well, I remember seeing Helen Skelton as well, and Helen's she's not the tallest thing in the world. She's only a little pocket rocket, but seeing her lift...
Mate, that was unbelievable. I can remember, because we were up in Scotland, on a small island in Scotland. It was horrendous weather. It was over moorland. It was horrible. And I remember looking around, and she had Tony Bellew on her shoulders. Yeah. And I was like...
See that?
Yeah, so
No, we all stopped in disbelief. We were, like, tapping each other. Have you seen her?
Yeah.
And she was getting angry with it. She was just like, Yeah. It was unbelievable. It was impressive.
So tell us about the tour. When you tour, I'm just going to finish off this steak.
Starts on the 21st of Jan, so in a week's time.
Right.
I'm back at it.
You're back at it. You're back at it.
Back at being nervous.
Back at, and the show's going from strength to strength. You're going to stick around. We're going to talk a little bit more later, but I'm just going to take this steak because Paul's going to finish off the cooking of it in there. But you see, this is what happens when you put the koji on it. You see, it alters the sugar in the meat, doesn't it? So you have to do this almost in reverse. You put this in there. You're going to pop it in the oven just for about a minute. Meanwhile, I've got this little dressing over here, which is with the lettuce and everything else. And we just take a little bit of this. And just put that in there. You can have a taste of this. You can dip your spoon in. Have a taste. Make sure it's good enough.
Yeah, stunning.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it? It's really nice. And then what we're going to do is we've got this sort of stuff. This. Well, you can explain what this is. This like fiery hot chili paste.
Yeah, I mean, just like the colour of that says...
It's quite... Yeah. I don't know whether you're into hot food, but...
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I say that.
It's pretty hot, is this? And what we're going to do is take this out. Just leave that to one side. I've got in my dressing now, I'll just put a few little bits of herbs, but we'll lift off our steak like that. A nice little bit of rump steak. If I can give you that, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right. Get that out of the way. Yeah. But this is this super hot chili. It's like a chili paste, like Mexican chili paste, but it's like roasting hot. We'll probably put a little bit on there and a little bit on there. This goes on there, and that one goes on there, like that. And then we'll carve this. I think that's all right. Look at that.
Look at that.
That's unbelievable.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Look at these. That's got to do a chefy drizzle with it as well. But go on, I'll let you put that one on there. And then we'll just put a little bit of the rump steak as well. But again, look at this. This is. I first got to introduce this. There's a chef in Wales called Gareth Ward, and he's just got the UK's #1, isn't he? The UK's #1 restaurant.
Yeah.
Something like that. And he introduced me to this, and it's this amazing sort of koji mixture. And you just take your dressing like that. We've got the lettuce that can sit alongside with it. This one goes on here, like that. And then all we're going to do is take our dressing and just go over the top. And this goes on here. A little bit of that on it as well.
Grilled lettuce is beautiful as well.
The grilled lettuce with this is just amazing, I think.
Lovely.
But there we have it, my grilled steak, cooked on the barbecue, just a small amount, with a nice little bit of soy and a little bit of yuzu dressing. Easy as that. Easy as that. Right, Jason, there you have it. There's your steak.
Thank you very much.
Exactly how you wanted it. Chef, there's your steak, exactly how you wanted yours. Yes. You've got old school knife, is that right?
How do I eat? I'm scared about how to eat it.
Well, the firing of the dressing is the orange one is a bit fiery, but the rest of it's amazing what that does to the... Because people look at rump steak and go, oh, it's quite chewy. It totally transforms it, trust me. It totally changes it. Happy with that?
The sauce is awesome. I like that, yeah.
Good starter. There you go. Jason, everybody. I'm sticking around for the rest of the show as well. And my humble assistant, Mr. Paul Ainsworth. Right, we're treating Jason to a pan-fried salmon with also... That's a pasta dish a little bit later on the show. And there's a little masterclass in shallots and onions coming your way very shortly. But join me again after the break when the star of the North East food scene, Mr. Kenny Atkinson, will be in the house and he's cooking a seasonal supper. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be showing you 3 of my favourite ways to use shallots and onions in this week's Little Masterclass, and I'll be chatting some more to SAS Who Dares Win star Jason Fox a little bit later. But first, I've been joined by Paul Ainsworth, and together we're going to be enjoying some quality cooking from the 2-time winner of the Great British Menu, who's taken the Newcastle culinary scene by storm and taking it to new heights. Is Mr. Kenny Atkinson? Welcome back, Chief. Welcome back. You haven't been on the show for a while, have you?
I know, I've been busy opening...
You've been busy opening places, yeah? You've got 2 restaurants now.
So, 2 restaurants.
Talk about that. So what are you going to be doing for us then?
So we're going to do a beautiful roast squab pigeon.
Yeah.
We're going to do a date glaze flavoured with a little bit of rose petals.
That's date.
Date. Date. Then you're going to do a caramelised artichoke and yeast puree.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make a little sauce to go with it. So,
Right, so I'm artichoke duty, then so
peel
you're
and
everything
dice.
else.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm going to start off with the sauce first.
Now, tell us about the new site then. Well, first of all, those people who haven't been to Newcastle, your main site, which is right on the river.
Yeah. So House of Tides, we opened up in 2014. So it's coming up to over 9 years of it being open now. And then Solstice was, it was originally our Vice Cafe, Violets, which closed down on the back of COVID. But then we had the idea of ripping it all out, starting all over again, and creating a really small 6-seater, intimate, 12-cover restaurant. And it's just 18 courses. So it's a 3-hour menu.
18 courses?
18 servings, yeah. So it's just, we just want to create something that was like a truly dining experience in Newcastle.
Right, enough about yourself now. Now talk about the squab.
So, yeah. So,
Welcome to James Wright, Saturday morning.
They talk about themselves all the time on this show. Just give them a platform and it's just can't shut them up.
But no, it's so yeah. This is a dish that we have on the menu at Solstice.
He's got his eye on these two. These are the only 2 awards that he hasn't won. He's won everything else.
Yeah,
I know they'll be in the movies.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, that's
Yes. Brilliant.
I would say it was all your doing, but it wasn't.
I'd like to think I played my part.
A very small part. But right, go on. Then tell us about the sauce that you got in here.
Yeah, so I'm just going to caramelise these chicken wings down, get some nice colour with the shallots and button mushrooms, with a little bit of thyme, bay leaf, some peppercorns, some coriander seeds. Then I'm going to add a little bit of tomato puree, so I want a bit of sweetness in there as well.
So this is the sauce part of it that you're doing now?
Yeah, this is the sauce part. So a little bit of red wine.
Yep. That goes in there.
What we want to do is get a lot of colour onto the artichokes. Get that butter in there, get it nice and foaming.
Okay.
And that'll just add a lovely richness to the artichoke puree.
I'll get that cooking away now. See, I'll sort that out. Yep.
I'm just going to cover that with the chicken stock. And what I'll do then, James, is bring out to the simmer.
Yeah.
Leave that to simmer for about 15 minutes. Pass it through a fine sieve and a muslin cloth, and then just reduce it down to a beautiful sauce consistency.
Which is one that we got over here.
Which is one we got over there, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to move this over here.
Okay. So what are you doing next?
Next, I want to do the dead gash. Oh, actually, I'm going to get the pigeon on the go. That'll help.
I'll keep that cooking away to get a nice bit of colour on that.
So a little bit of oil in the pan. A little bit of salt.
So tell us about the squab then, because this is not UK. This is French.
No, these are French birds. We get them from the region of Anjou. They're a farm pigeon, normally up to about 4 weeks old.
A lot nicer than sort of wild pigeon. I don't mind, but this is a beautiful tender.
Well, wild pigeon is a lot more gamey, a lot more tougher. Because obviously this is such a young pigeon, it's really tender.
Yeah, because a lot of people try pigeon and they go, oh, I don't really want to try it again because it's quite strong.
Yeah, this for me is almost like duck-like in flavour and almost like a dark chicken. It's just, I just absolutely love it.
And you get it with it, like you say, you get it with the legs, and then you use the legs to make the sauce as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, okay.
Do you squab down much the restaurant, Paul?
Yeah, on the menu now. As you say, they're amazing. I mean, even when they arrive, they're a spectacle.
They just look beautiful.
They look beautiful.
With the labels on
all
it.
the labels, the ribbons. I mean, they have a better life than the 3 of us.
Well, maybe not. Rolling around in a pad like that after a few months. No, maybe not.
Yeah, up until that point, it's quite nice. But yeah, you're right. I know what you mean. The wood pigeons, like, you know, compared to that.
It's a very hit and miss. I mean, you can see very straight away what they caramelise straight away. Fantastic.
And in the meantime, I'm just going to put this at about 170 for about 6 to 7 minutes. And have a little...
Clean your pan out.
Oh, sorry, don't put us.
There you go.
The next thing we're going to do the date gastric, which is basically just a light caramel.
A date gastric.
Date gastric.
Okay.
Just gonna wash my hands.
So you take that to a caramel then?
Yeah,
first,
just what I want to try and do is get that lovely sweet and sour elements. So we'll bring this to a light caramel first.
So we talked about the restaurant that you've got, the House of Ties. Tell us about the new one then, because you've opened that between the last time you were on here.
Well, Solstice, yeah. So it's been open for about 6 months now. We opened up the restaurant when I'm there, so we close weekends. So we only open Tuesday to Friday, so that means I can commit 4 days to the restaurant, which is important for me for the guests. and also time off for the family, which is important as well, to try and get that lovely balance.
He does that at his place, but he's got to row across the estuary, haven't you? You've got to get from Padstow to Rock, haven't you?
Padstow, yeah.
Exactly.
So all I've done now, I've just brought that sugar up to a caramel, added the raisin vinegar.
Raisin vinegar.
Raisin vinegar, and then we've got the beautiful date stock. So this stock is, we've covered dates with cold water, brought up to the simmer, and then we've left it to infuse overnight, and then passed it off. You get a beautiful, almost tea-like colour. So we want to bring that to a simmer, and then we want to reduce that right down. And
People are wondering why I'm still cooking this on. I'm going to have it for my dinner tonight, because I'm quite interested in this.
And then what we do...
As in the yeast and...
yeah,
me
I've
too.
got a big pan of there, you know.
Fascinating, that, isn't it? It's just...
So what
I've
we
never
do,
seen that before.
we reduce it right down to a beautiful glaze.
Yeah.
And you get almost like a lovely sweetness with acidity to it as well.
That's the gastric.
That's the gastric.
Now, do you want me to put the artichoke in the squeezy bowl?
Yeah, so I've got one I've warmed up there,
Delicious.
Right.
which I'm just going to warm through.
Squeezy bowl. Right, that's my job, OK? You can explain what we're doing now, then. What's next?
So the pigeons, these ones I've cooked before, so I've lightly rested for about good 8 to 10 minutes.
And they don't take very long to cook at all, do they?
6, 7 minutes, that's all you need to cook them at.
But the key to that, like most game, and particularly like, well, whether it's wild or farm like this, don't overcook it.
Oh, no. You can always finish off in the pan if you need to, but no, this is perfect.
It's pretty good, that, isn't it?
Stunning.
So how do you cook yours?
We've actually started doing them, you know, on what you use on the show, you know, the barbecues.
All right.
So we just literally...
I love it every time you come on here. You get sort of ideas for the restaurant, don't you?
What, a barbecue?
Yeah, well, you know...
Like, yes, I got an idea. Yeah, because I've never seen one until I come here.
This artichoke, you Google this in 2 weeks' time.
No, that's a different story.
Yeah, you see,
you could see that appear in
You could see that appear in Cornwall, yeah. Exactly.
No, but yeah, very similar. We'll just put a light brine and then just cook them all the way on the barbecue. That's it, and just rest up.
Yeah. So this is this date glaze that you're talking about.
This is beautiful date glaze. So I just want to give the birds a nice little brush with that glaze.
Do you want to just brush that over the top?
Yeah, brush them on the top, yeah, please, James.
Okay.
Let's wash my hands.
What's happening with these? Do you want to use these?
I'm just going to use 1 breast per person, and I'll have some for the crew as well.
For who?
Not the crew.
I don't know. You're gonna give me 1 and then give these lot the rest.
When he said that, I was like, does he know where he is?
Do you want to come back again or what? Okay.
So yeah, what the glaze does is it adds a beautiful shine, adds a beautiful sweetness, and the acidity just helps cut the pigeon a little bit.
Tell you what, it looks good, that, as well.
See, Kenny, you call that a main course. James would call that an amuse. That's an amuse bouche. 1 pigeon breast to James.
No such thing as an amuse bouche. It's just a snack. That's all it is.
So a little bit more than salt, and you get a beautiful shine.
Amazing, that. Look at that.
Some pink peppercorns, which adds a lovely heat, as well as that lovely floral note. So I think we're ready to fill it up now, so...
Yeah, go for it.
What we'll do...
That's amazing, Kenny.
Nice and simple, just nice artichoke puree. Not too much, because it is quite powerful. The pigeon, which I'm just going to...
Do you want me to do the other plate, seeing as we're only plating up for him?
Yeah.
Can I plate up my own food?
Yeah, of course you can.
There, Kenny. You are walking a tightrope.
He's already fallen off it, to be honest with you. Right, there you go.
I'll do the other one for you.
Brilliant.
Love him.
Just next to the side, nice and clean. And just a little bit of sauce just towards the end. Not a lot, because you don't need a lot with it. And that is it, James.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Thank you very much, pal. Tell me what you think. Well, tell Kenny what you think.
Yeah.
It's just about great produce, cook simple, and that's it.
Listen, I don't need to tell you, Chef. That is stunning.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I like all of it, but that's that pepper on the top.
The pepper and the rose petals on the top.
Absolutely
It's that warmth,
phenomenal.
and then all of a sudden that floral comes on the back of it. Just takes it to a different level.
Brilliant, that.
Fantastic.
Brilliant, that. Kenny, everybody. Brilliant. Now, Paul will be cooking for a little bit later. What are you going to be doing? Turbot?
Yeah, we're going to do some lovely roast turbot, mussels, cockles. We've got some clams with us, and a lovely vegetable stew.
Sounds pretty good to me. And later we've got a masterclass in shallots and onions coming your way very shortly. But don't go anywhere after the break, because the legendary man himself, my TV dad, Mr. Brian Turner, will be serving up a winter warming dish of a sage lamb cobbler. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Now, I'll be teaching you all about onions and shallots in this week's little masterclass, and I'll be serving up a delicious pan-fried salmon with orzo pasta a little bit later. But first, I'm at the Hobbs with a legendary figure in the British restaurant world, and a man I'm honoured to be called my TV dad. It's the one and only Mr. Brian Turner! Chefy, welcome back, welcome back. So what is on the menu today, then? Looks a beautiful bit of lamb.
Neck end of lamb, so it's economical. It's got lots of vegetables for the kids to eat. It's nutritious, and as I say, it's cheap.
It's cheap. Was that you being a Yorkshireman then?
Quite right.
You're pigeonholing us.
Hey, absolutely.
Now, first of all, you want to say thank you, and there's the camera. You want to say thank you because you've not been very well recently.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I had a stroke in June last year, and the people at the London hospital were fantastic and helpful. So, excuse me if I just make a stammer.
It's okay.
Occasionally.
It's okay.
But we'll catch up at the end.
I love you, fella. So, round of applause for all the people that have been looking after you as well. And it's a pleasure to have you back. You're more than welcome anytime. So, can I help you cook? What would you like? What would you like? So, a little bit of oil in here. And you're going to get the lamb on here. So tell us about the lamb, first of all. What have we got?
Neck end of lamb. It's nice. It's fat and gives a wonderful flavour.
Yeah.
So we put it in some
Just some plain flour?
Just plain flour. Just to... I'm going to seal it a bit, and then it'll caramelise the flavour.
So this you colour it in here. That's the key to it, isn't it?
I'm going to colour it in absolutely in the pan there. I cooked this for my dad many years ago, and I used a big pan to cook it in. So the biggest pan you can get.
Yeah. Because your dad had a cafe, didn't he? A travel cafe.
It's a transport cafe.
Transport cafe
in Leeds, and he was a great guy.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, I've got in here, Brian wants me to make some scones, because this is like a little cobbler you're going to do.
It is, and a cobbler was an American invention, I understand.
It
and
was?
It's usually fruit, but we changed it to savoury.
You've changed, have you?
No. There's a group of people, the cobblers to this.
Right, so we're just going to mix this all together. This is the scone mixture, which then gets sort of rolled out with everything else.
Yeah.
Now, the key, this is the important bit. You see what Brian's done there? A lot of people, when you're thinking about stews, the way you get a darkened stew is you brown the meat. That's the key to it. That's the important bit, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then but don't change the pan, because all goodness and flavour in there.
Yeah.
My mother actually called it biscuit rings.
Right.
I don't know where that come from, but
Right.
so some onion. Now we've got even quantities of onions, and swede and carrots and mushrooms. But if you're missing one of these vegetables, it doesn't matter. Just
supplement it with the others.
But absolutely. But I feel that the kids will eat it in its stew, so it's good for them.
Right.
So now it's just starting to colour over there. So we'll go swede in next.
Swede. It's often, you know, a lot of people, when you see stew mixtures in the supermarket, you see swede in it. I love swede in stews. I don't know about you, but it's a necessity in stews, particularly with lamb.
Absolutely right. It's a lovely vegetable. And it don't matter, because we're going to cook it a long time,
Yeah.
but doesn't matter if the Swede melts. It's just good flavour and goodness.
Exactly. So I'll just put a little bit of oil in there for you. Sorry, Chief. There you go.
Thank you. And then I'm going to put the carrots in now. Now, they're difficult to give it too much colour now because there's a lot of moisture in. So we've got some chestnut mushrooms.
And the reason for those is they've got a beautiful flavour, aren't they? They're brown cap.
Yeah, they're lovely. Yeah, they're lovely.
Right, and there we go. A nice little bit of... You see, you've got these... The great thing about this as well, it's so much easier than if you're making puff pastry and anything like that. But you've got a nice little cobbler topping, which is... You've got there. Nice 8 pieces.
And so now it's very simple.
Now you want the stock?
Wash the hands now.
While he's washing his hands, I'll put the stock back in.
And some people will add a bit of wine.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. But if you got a spare half a bottle, have a drink and put it in there. Okay?
Not in this house. We ain't got a spare half bottle to go in there.
Well,
so lid on or lid off?
lid on.
Yeah.
And cook. It will slowly braise for about 2 hours.
Okay. Which then I'll move that over there.
And then we've let it go cold.
Yeah. Is it important that it goes cold?
It's easier to handle when it's got cold.
Right, so while Brian's finishing off that, because I know you want to get us... I knew you'd put a little bit of salt in it. So while Brian's doing that, I'm going to do something that I haven't done this since I was probably at college. You're going to explain what these are. These are sort of...
Gondolas.
Gondolas, horns, what do you call it?
Yeah, we call them gondolas. And in 1971, we brought the idea back from France. And every dish was served with gondolas, but it didn't taste any different.
You've got a napkin, and you put tin foil on it, like that. Fold that over like that. And then fold that over, like that. It's like you're doing a paper aeroplane.
Yeah.
Fold it over. And then we've got one more fold like that. And another fold like that. And then you fold it over.
Now, this is where we differ. I used to put a pan in there and we yank it.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm using the rolling pin. You're not ruining any of my pans. So, and then we just fold this over like that. And as we fold it over like this, what Brian was saying, usually you hit it with a pan. I'm going to hit it with a rolling pin. And you fold it over, fold it over, fold it over. It rolls round and round and round like that. And you get to that stage. And then there, when you open it up, you have the gondola.
Fantastic. Can you do one more?
Oh, yeah, fine. Let's do it.
Because half a gondola will sink.
I'm doing another
one. A whole
one.
gondola will float.
I will do another gondola. Meanwhile, you're going to tell us about these. You place these on just randomly, yeah?
I just make... It's a nice pattern to...
Yeah.
To do, and then it helps to separate the stew from the carbohydrate as well.
Yeah. So I haven't asked you this. When did you first start in television then? We knew when you were a young lad you wanted to be a chef, but when did television come a-calling? How long ago was that?
Anthony Worrell Thompson and I went on a boat, a ship, or whatever you call it.
About a ship, yeah, go on.
Yeah, and we did an 8-minute film, which turned out to be 3 8-minute films.
Right.
On the high seas. And the people this morning said, and Richard and Judy said, we must have these guys on the show because it was...
And that's how you started?
And that's how we started. And then Peter Bazalgette then invited to Ready Steady Cook, to the auditions for Ready Steady Cook, which you probably didn't have to do.
Well, I remember doing this. This was probably about 2 years, maybe a year after you started that. I sort of joined. So egg wash.
Yeah, eggs and...
This is the amazing thing about this. We made one earlier. Brian helped me make one earlier. We made this. The egg wash, this goes in for what, half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that?
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
Look
yeah.
at this.
Now then, come
Can I just lift this out and just so you can see this? Just look at this.
That's fantastic. Now, but imagine, so just if you put it there,
Right.
chef,
What there?
just there, so we can get this decoration.
Can I borrow your cloth?
Certainly.
Okay, there you go. Right, I'm putting it there. Flowers. What do you want me to dim the lights or something?
Well, this is
Well,
how
I know,
it
I've known each other. If you're going to take me on a date, you've only just got to ask. You haven't got to do this gondolas and everything else.
How it was done
Right.
in the early 1970s, chef.
Right.
So there, and then you 2 flowers.
2 flowers.
4 flowers.
4 flowers.
4.
2. There we go. That one.
Right, and then another 2.
Okay.
And then, if you will, chef, you just...
Try and get it in that gap.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring this across so I can just shut this. Because now you've actually got to try and get it in this gap, which is pretty... If I can lift that off like that, that goes to there. Put that one end.
Okay.
Put that on there. That. I love this. Brings back so many memories, this.
Just
To
this.
be honest with you. Got it?
Imagine the waiter, the head waiter, has brought it to the table, and the family to the table, and then divide it up like, voila, you are a great help.
I don't
chef.
need that. I want this. Brian Turner, I love you. Love you, fella.
Good lad.
Mr. Brian Turner, everybody. So it looks good like this, but I know whenever you serve everything, the plate's got to be warm.
Absolutely. Now, my dad taught me hot food, hot plate.
Hot food, hot plate. Well, there you go. Hot plate. And I love this idea. You've just got... Oh, look at that. The lamb. It looks delicious.
And at last, his food, you can mop with the gravy with a scone.
Well, there you go. Dive in. Tell me what you think.
I'm just gonna... Chef.
Okay, you go for it. You go for it, Chief.
Look how tender the meat is.
Not only does it look great, it tastes fantastic as well, as it always does. With Mr. Brian Turner. Chef Paul Ainsworth will be taking over the kitchen duties very shortly, and we're chatting some more to SAS Who Dares Win star Jason Fox at the end of the show. But I'll see you back in a couple of minutes with a masterclass in onions and shallots. I'll see you in a bit. Brian, man hug. Love you.
Thanks.
See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, there's still loads more to come from my guest, Jason Fox. But first, it's time for this week's little masterclass. And this week's, we're going to talk about onions and shallots for this one. So I'm going to do 2, I can do 3 dishes for this one, but I'm going to do 2 dishes for this one. First of all, onions. They've been around for 5,500 years, first cultivated in Asia. There's so many different types as well, of different varieties nowadays. A bit like potatoes, really, but which ones do you go for? And really, what should you look out for, really? What are the creme de la creme of onions? So first of all, let's talk about the larger onions, first of all. These are what I call large onions or Spanish onions, these ones. They're the ones that you're usually familiar with. These are ones that grow the biggest, massive size onions that you get as well. Now, these are the stronger ones. So if you want to do things like French onion soup, that kind of stuff, you would use a stronger onion, which are these larger ones. Now, the creme de la creme, we'll get on to as well, while we're talking about these ones, are these over here. These have got like a sort of a pinkish hue to it, really, and this is for one of the dishes that I'm going to do now. These are called Roscoff onions. Now, they've actually got, they have to be from Roscoff in France. There is an onion festival in France. These are where the famous onion sellers come from, the blue and white striped T-shirt, the guys that used to go around on bicycles selling onions. They were from Roscoff. They were the famous onion sellers, called Johnny's, these ones. Well, the onion sellers were. But literally, you've got the onions over here. These are amazing. Now, these are the creme de la creme, I think, of onions, as well as the French grey onions, which you're talking about, shallots over here. So for this dish, we're going to do a really simple little one. This is beer braised onions. Now, you can do it with sort of the medium-sized ones. I would stay away from the larger onions for this one, purely the fact it just takes ages to cook them. For this one, you want a nice little bit of beer. Now, what you want is a beer, not a lager. Now, it's important to use a beer, not a lager, because you get the depth of flavour. Now, you actually can do this in cider as well. And if you've got a kind publican near you, then sometimes he'll give you a little bit left over a beer. And it doesn't have to be the fizzy buff straight out of the bottle. But you want to do is just take a little bit of this and bring it to the boil and just leave it to simmer. And it wants to simmer for about sort of 30 minutes, depending on the size of the onions. But like I said, use the medium ones. If you can't find the Roscoff, the medium-sized onions are what you want for this one. And then after 30 minutes, you then leave them to cool. And what you end up with is these in the skins. Now, I've cooked these before on the show in the house because I absolutely love these. In the summer, these on the barbecue are just incredible. But by leaving the skins on, which is what you want, and leaving the root on, what you end up with is this amazing, look at this onion in the centre. If you just cut that, it's just a picture on itself. Just look at that. It's just a beautiful thing. Look, I just think onions are a dish in its own right, really. I've done blooming onions in the fryer before where we've put them in milk and flour and that kind of stuff, and spices, but these are just absolutely delicious. Now, to cook them, like I said, you can do this on the barbecue if you want. I'm going to use a little bit of butter, a little bit of oil, and start to cook these. Well, they're already cooked, but what you want to do is just... The key to this is you want to char the underside of it. That's why it's really good to do this on a barbecue. So they go straight in to the pan here and get this nice and hot, including the skins, because that'll protect it. They all go in. We're going to cook these just on one side to colour them up. Now, another dish that I'm going to do is probably one of my favourite dishes, I think, with onions. And we talked about the larger onions over here. You've got the red onions as well. But I've got these shallots over here. And then what I've done with these is just peel some of these. And we're going to make a simple little tartatan. Tartatan's classically with apple, of course, that famous sort of upside-down tartlet. But this is amazing with onions. You can do this with chicory, you can do it with onions, but this is delicious. What you need for this is red wine vinegar. So what we want to do is sort of cook the shallots first of all. So it's unlike the apples that we do in it, we rotate them in the caramel, that kind of stuff. What you want to do with the shallots is cook these in basically 3, 2, 1. 3 parts vinegar, 2 parts sugar, 1 part water, which is a bit in there. So once you get to that stage, a little bit of fresh thyme, like that. And then what you want to do is just cook these. So cook them a bit like the onions that we've got in here, and we cook these for a little bit less because they're smaller onions. These want to sort of about 10, 15 minutes. Just let them gently cook in that. And what you end up with is these amazing shallots, which we've got in here. Now, like I say, with all these, you try and keep the root on it. So when you peel them, keep that base root on it. It holds it all together. Because if you take the root off, sometimes it just falls apart. So what you want to do is take your nice little onions. Now, once you've got to this stage, this pan is now ready. Take these off. That's what we're looking for. Look at this. I'll lift these off to one side. This is what we're after. This is what we're after. Look at the colour. Now, for most people, that looks burnt. This is what we want, because it all happens when this cools down a little bit. So once we got that, take that off to one side, cool that down. And then over here, I'm just going to leave that to cool, and then we'll get to that in a second. But we'll just leave that to cool slightly, because over here, I want to get on and then get our tartatan started. So for that, this pickling liquor you can use for dressings as well, so we don't throw this away. This is really good. So once you get to that stage, we can take some sugar. So this is plain cast sugar. And this is the base part of your tartatan. So I've got my shallots over here, and these we can just take a knife and carefully cut these in half, like that. You can see you've got these beautiful colours. Now these, like I was saying, have got a pickle taste to them. So these you can actually just cut into onion rings, and you can use these for salads, stuff like that, particularly this time of year. Winter salads with these are absolutely delicious. Warm, soft-boiled eggs, that kind of stuff, or poached eggs. These are wonderful. Look at the colour that you get from that as well. What you want to do now is get this caramel. So to make a tartan, in essence, is actually quite straightforward. It's getting this bit right first. It's getting the sugar right. So if you take it too far, it becomes bitter. If you take it not enough, it doesn't taste of caramel. So once you get to that stage, you've got your sugar ready. Just take it off the heat a little bit so you can keep your eye on it. So you can see that nice little bit of even caramel. So you see as it gets a little bit darker now, which that is, now we can add our butter. See as it starts to bubble up? Now we can add a little bit of butter to it. And this is our caramel bit. So put it on the stove. Turn the temperature down a little bit, like that. And then all we do now is just lift off our onions and pop them in. Now, the great thing about this is you can make it in advance. And you can actually freeze this, to be honest with you. Once you've got them made, then they're set in the moulds. This freezes really well. But you can see you've got all that lovely sugar and onion in there, caramelising, which is just amazing. It's delicious. Now, once you've got to this stage, then lift off our little dishes that we're putting them in. These are these little moulds. You can use a pan if you want. It's more difficult to take out. But what we want to do is take the onions and you keep them, you put them in the cut side down. So you imagine, look, you've got the nice little bit of caramelisation happening underneath the onions there, which they are. So we want to make sure that we've got the same appearance when it comes out. So what we do with this is we just pile them up this way round. So rather than turn them over, because we want a nice little appearance to our tartan, you can then take our nice little bit of caramelised onions there. Then what you want is a little bit of this caramel. So just put a little bit of that in there as well. There we go. And then you can leave these to one side and just leave these to set, or you can make them straight away. So classically puff pastry, of course. You've got a little bit of puff pastry. We're going to take a rough circle or a rugby ball, roughly like that. Little piece of pastry like that. And then you can just spread this out a little bit. I always dock it with a knife rather than a fork because it creates bigger air holes, allows the puff pastry, the steam of the puff pastry to come out. You don't get a soggy base really to it with this, but you just take your puff pastry and just sit that over there. Very careful when you're doing this when you've got hot caramel in it. Just watch your fingers. But that's going to go in there as well. So once you've got that, all we then do is either put these in the freezer or stick them in the oven. So oven about 200 degrees. It wants to go in there. And you cook these for a good sort of 20 minutes, something like that, 15, 20 minutes, because you want the pastry to cook. So you just pop them straight onto a tray. It's a good idea, because they can just leak out a little bit. And then allow them to cool a little bit as they come out, before you then just turn them over. To turn them over, I actually just use like a cooling rack, really. We just flip these over like that. Ooh. There we go. So you just quickly turn them over, because the idea is you see all that caramel comes out. The problem is with that caramel, just be careful when you do this, because it's quite hot. So tip them over and leave them. So you can lift that out, and you've got your classic sort of tartan. And this is amazing, whether you have it with, I mean, you can do this on its own with a nice little bit of dressed salad, which is wonderful. You can do this with a little bit of goat's cheese. You can serve this with chicken. You can serve it with fish. It goes well with so many different things. And when I was working as a young kid, training as a chef, we used to do this with a classic beurre blanc, a butter sauce that goes around the other, and a little bit of frisée lettuce. And it used to be 26 francs. There's no such thing as that nowadays, is it? But it's about 120 quid nowadays, I suppose. That's what it is. But you just got a nice little bit of tartan, a wonderful, wonderful little dish. Tastes amazing. The onions that we've got on here, these ones, what you do with these is you just squeeze them out. Look. You squeeze them out of the little cases, and what you end up with is these amazing petals. See what I mean? Look, you just lift these out, And these petals, each individual petal's got amazing flavour on it. So you can serve these as a little garnish, but you've got to cook the onions enough like this to get that flavour. You see when you open these out, look. You've got these beautiful colours, lovely textures. The taste's amazing. It's a great, great way of cooking onions is this one. But there you have your Roscoff onions. And then finally, I'm going to show you something very, very quick. You can take sort of an idea from sort of pomme parisienne, which are these potatoes, round potatoes that you cook with a little bit of stock. These are really simple. So if you want to do this as a little dish, these are silver skin onions. You can buy these from the supermarket, frozen food section. What this is very similar to what we did, a mixture of the two, really. You take a little bit of sugar. Now, you don't want too much. A couple of tablespoons is what you want from here. Hot pan. Now, this happens quite quickly for this one. So you've got a little bit of butter handy, like that. And we get this. Now, this is a great dish in its own right. It's a great little garnish thing, but something really, really quick if you want something. But I love this. So you get this nice and hot now, because it happens very, very fast, like that. So you can see it's starting to caramelise. So at the same time now as this is starting to caramelise, in we go with these sort of silver skins. They go in. And what we want to do is colour these quite quickly. So these colour in this caramel. You see this quite quickly, cooking quite quickly now. Look at that. Now we can add a little bit of butter. Then we can add a little bit of stock. So a tiny little bit of stock. Get this pan nice and hot as it's going. A touch of fresh thyme. That goes in. Get the pan nice and hot. And because you've got the sugar in there, you see these are looking amazing already. To take a little bit of the sugariness away from it, you take a touch of sherry vinegar. Just a little bit of sherry vinegar in there. And then you rapidly cook this now. It's going to take about 10 seconds. And it'll all start to come together in an amazing little sauce. You tip it on the plate, it's done. It's a brilliant little garnish, this. You can serve this with fish. You can do this with lamb is also delicious. Really, really nice. But look, you're nearly there with the onions. Very, very quickly now, we can just take these off. You can see as it mixture starts to sort of thicken up. Look what's happening. You get this lovely glaze over the top. Now just check these out, look. You just put them on there. I mean, how easy was that? You can imagine doing that with a nice little bit of lamb chop, a little bit of grilled fish, something like that with it. But the key to it, really, don't forget, is that sherry vinegar. But there you have it, sort of 3 dishes, all using the humble onion. Done. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about, a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We see if we can help out right here on the show. Time now for a quick break now, but join me again in a couple of minutes when Mr. Paul Ainsworth will be here with a proper chefy dish of turbot. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be dishing up a show-stopping pan-fried salmon for Jason Fox from SAS Who Dares Wins. That's coming up next. But first, me and Kenny Atkinson are here with a very talented chef who's on our screens at the moment as Gordon Ramsay's TV sidekick. Before you get too excited, sadly, Gino De Campo wasn't available. Please welcome to the house, Mr. Paul Ainsworth.
Love it.
You like that one?
Oh, I love it, yeah. Great script writing. Brilliant. It always makes me feel really good about myself.
We've got a week to think about it. Go on.
Absolutely.
Right. What's on the menu then?
Really excited about cooking this for you. So this is a dish we do at the Cafe Reggiano back in Padstow. And we're going to take some beautiful turbot. We've got some clams, some mussels and some squid. Yeah. And then we're just going to do a lovely vegetable. We got the lumaci pasta, which we do in the extruder at the restaurant. And I'm just going to finish it with some butter, some pesto and some fresh herbs.
Because you want me to get on and do the clams
Yes, if you could steam open, so literally just a tiny bit of white wine. Yeah. But the beauty of this dish, it's all about the stock. So we start with a litre of stock. And I've just cooked...
What stock?
So, again, use chicken stock, fish stock, even if you want to use vegetable stock, whatever you fancy, but just get a nice quality stock. Yeah. And I've cooked these. Have you ever used these, James? The crones? Yeah. They're like a kind of a cross between a potato and an artichoke.
They're really nice, don't you think?
Gorgeous. Available this time of year.
Are they from Cornwall?
It starts already.
Are they from-
It starts already.
Are they from Cornwall?
Do you know what? For the purposes of this conversation...
I do not believe it.
No, I can't go there. But we've got celeriac, these lovely crones, the carrots and the celery. I've cooked everything in that stock, but I've not cooled it down in ice. We've just taken it out and literally...
Just like you blanched them.
Just blanch them, exactly that, just to keep the flavour. So I'm going to cook now the turbot.
Right.
All right? So just put a little bit of oil in the pan. Going to add a little bit of butter. Going to take some back for our sauce.
So we've got the clams over here, the mussels. I'm just about another 30 seconds away. All right.
Cook it on the bone as well stops the fish from shrinking as well, doesn't it? Helps keep
Keeps the moisture as well,
The moisture,
doesn't it?
yeah.
Moisture, and the good thing about like monkfish, turbot, brill, when you cook them on the bone like that, it's, especially at home, it's a bit more forgiving. I think
Yeah.
sometimes people are a bit nervous with fish, with overcooking.
Yeah.
So we're just going to get that nice and foaming. I'm just going to take both bits of these turbot, James. All right, I'm just going to lightly season them both sides.
I'm going to take that out.
All right.
Take this away.
Yeah. And if you could just pick the meats out of there for me, that'd be brilliant.
Thanks very
I'm
much.
just going to... What's that?
Thanks very much for this. Nice job. Yeah,
It's a lovely job.
I love this job. It's great. Right, so let me turn this stove down a little bit. So we've got that one there
Yeah.
and that one on there. So this gentleman over here has just opened his second restaurant.
Yeah.
Now you've got four places down where you are now? 4 independent places, 3 restaurants and... Well, tell us about them. You got number 6,
That's right.
which is
The first one.
the Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah. And then we did Cafe Reggiano, which is where we do dishes like this.
Would it be Italian
pastas,
themed,
pizza.
would it, or-
Yeah, Mediterranean. We do a lot of... It started off quite Italian, and now we have a lot of, like, Spanish influence in there. So, yeah, it's 17 years just gone.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
now?
since I moved
You
down
must
there.
have been open quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been open 10 years. And 9 years of House of Ties.
9 years.
So 9.
So just going to take that turbot,
Yeah.
all right? Just like that. So you've got that lovely colour on there. Now, we're just going to take some of that butter and pour it all over that lovely... Look at that.
Now, I mentioned about this Gordon Ramsay thing. You've been doing this. Tell us about this then.
Yeah, I mean, this was... Thank you. Just
It's not really your highlight of the TV career, is it?
What's that?
The Gordon thing. It's not your highlight of your TV career.
I know,
is
of
it?
course, being here with you
Is the highlight.
is the highlight,
So
James.
I was about to boil the stock drying.
Yeah, that's my that's
about to boil dry in a second.
I was just be careful, very careful what I say.
Yeah.
No, I mean like last year we we got this incredible opportunity. It's a show Gordon launched in the US last year called Next Level Chef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the set, the whole thing is amazing. It's basically just takes a mixture of social media chefs, pro chefs, home cooks, puts them all against each other in this unbelievable skyscraper-style kitchen. So you've got the top-level kitchen, which is state-of-the-art, mid-level, which is a bit of a commercial space, but still got a bit of kit, and then the basement is just nothing in there.
So you got to try and work your way up to the top.
Absolutely. So, like, how well you cook is where you cook.
Well, you've got 3 minutes, so hurry up.
Yeah, so it's it's an amazing show. So yeah, just a brilliant thing to be a part of. That's lovely. Right.
What are you cooking the pasta in?
So I'm gonna do everything. Everything goes in here. That's the beauty of it. So while your fish is cooking, we just have a just have a taste of that now. It's absolutely delicious. So now I'm just gonna finish with some of that with a lemon.
It's all right, that.
It's all right, isn't it?
actually,
Yeah, you like that. So I'm just going to put a little squeeze of lemon in there. So you just get that lemon, that butter, you got all of that. We're going to put our pasta in.
So you're creating like a little broth.
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So in there we'll add the celeriac, some of those beautiful crones, some carrots. So it's a proper family meal. Some of that celery. Now I'm going to add our pesto, like that. And this here, for me, is the game changer. When you add in the pesto.
Changes the colour, the
colour, the flavour. It's like that pesto working with the butter. You've got the pine nuts in there, that bit of parmesan.
You want this?
No, I've finished with that.
Finish with that.
That's all done. If you could just check that turbot, please, James.
I was just going to check that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Doesn't take very long to cook.
Does
though,
not
does it?
take very long at all. So you can bring that out, let that have a good rest. So now, what I love to do, beautiful that, absolutely beautiful, look at that. So that over to the side. Yep, you can add that in, James, all in, all the juices, all right? And you want to do the squid last second. So you see how you're nice and organised now, everything's ready. So I'm going to add in some chives, some chervil. While we're waiting for that heat to come up on there, we just put that there. So now I've got that same beautiful...
Lovely, that.
Fresh, lovely, isn't it?
So what's your plans for this year, then? Expanding more, or are you just going to stick with what you got?
No, it's exactly that, James. It's just at the moment for us, it's just making the most of what we have and what we've created down there in Cornwall, and just consolidating and concentrating on what we've got, you know, and doing the show with Gordon. It's just been amazing. It's just been an incredible thing to be about. The Saturday show, exactly. Yes, the Saturday show is incredible as well. And now I'm just going to finish that, hit that squid with some, with some lemon, like that. So again, you always want that squid in a hot pan. Now, put that all in there, all right?
Fold in that butter as well.
Exactly.
Oh,
now, we just finish that all again with just a touch more lemon. James, if you could just spoon all that butter and all the juices from the turbot over the squid and simply just plate up.
But you are blessed down there with great ingredients, aren't you, around down where your neck of yours? But I particularly mentioned fish, but you've got amazing dairy. You've got some amazing stuff down there.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, James. You know, from producers, you know, everybody knows that we've got world-class seafood like this, but we've also got world-class meat. You've got people down there, as you say, with dairy, with amazing vegetables. It's a really amazing, you know, thing happening in Cornwall, and yeah, it's great to be a part of that. Let me just take a piece of our turbot.
One thing you haven't done yet is a book. You've got to do a cookbook. He's got to do a cookbook, hasn't he?
Got to do one.
Yeah. One day. So just put the squid. I want some of those tentacles as well, just over the top. And then we get some of that fresh basil. Just around the bowl.
Nice, though, isn't it?
No, I can smell it. It smells absolutely fantastic.
It's just beautiful. Fish dish, got everything in there. You got the veg, and then we just finish that with some lovely basil oil that we... Again, all of this is just literally basil into the oil, blitz, and then hang, and then just let it do its thing. And there we have roast turbot.
So give us this name of this dish, then?
Roast turbot, Cornish seafood stew.
Mr. Paul Ainsworth, everybody. There we have it. Thank yourself, Lucky, because he's only brought one bowl. One bowl from Cornwall, that's all he's brought. One, just before you eat it, he's come to my house, cooked it for you and me, and he's given you it on one bowl. I've got the pan.
Yeah,
and a bit off the tray.
And a bit off the tray.
Love you. It's nice to have all your mates in the house, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, that was beautiful. Absolutely
Need
stunning.
a bit of work, or is quite happy with that?
No, I think
Only joking.
that fish is cooked perfection. Cooking on the bone just does that.
Get that in there.
That beautiful rainbow.
It's nice. Paul Ainsworth, everybody. There you go. There you go. Next time, bring 2 bowls if you can, please.
Do you know what? Because you've turned the heating on this time, so I'll bring an extra bowl next
Exactly.
time.
It's a bit warm in here, isn't it?
It is.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's got time for one more final course, so join us again after the break when I'll be back behind the hubs treating SAS 2 Days Win star Jason Fox to pan-fried salmon with orzo pasta. And for that, I've got 4 plates. It's amazing when it happens with 4 guests and 4 plates, but I'll see you after the break. Turn the heating off. Welcome back to the last part of the show. Now I'm in the kitchen with SAS Who Dares Win star Jason Fox. Mr. Kenny Atkinson and Paul Ainsworth are here as well. They're all diving in as well. So we're going to make this little salmon pasta, really. Salmon with... we're going to do this with a little bit of tomato. So in we go with plenty of seasoned, particularly water. You need salted boiling water. And then we use this orzo pasta, which looks like a little bit of rice, really. But it only takes 5 minutes to cook. So we're just going to pop that in. Now, there's no need to put any oil in there as well, because that's the opposite. It makes it stick. So plenty of salted boiling water is what you need for the pasta. Cheffy's on here. You're about to cook this salmon. I'm going to give you in a minute. The calm before the storm is happening, Kenny. So you chill out, have a glass of wine, chill yourself out. It's fine. Meanwhile, you can fire questions at Jason, because these two are like rabbit in the headlights all morning. You must be able to ask Jason about questions. You must do.
Yeah, of course. No. Yeah.
But
yeah.
do you?
I was very excited when I knew who was on.
Yeah, but you must get this quite a lot, though, don't you? Really?
It is odd, yeah. It was a little bit difficult to get my head round at the earlier stages. But I mean, I live in London, so no one really cares there. It's just like wander down the street. Yeah.
But do you always find it difficult to go back to normal life? Do you find it? Is it something that you do and you're doing it intensely? You've done it for that many years, 20 years. Is it something you miss? Do you miss it?
I did miss it when I first left, and I think that was, you know, my journey with mental health it wasn't a smooth ride, and so I did miss it, yeah. I missed the camaraderie. I lost my sense of identity. I lost my belonging, or so I thought. So, yeah, it was difficult at first, but I don't miss it now.
Because it is a fascinating, you know, when we talked about that, the reason why you went in the army as well, to then get that camaraderie, to then leave that.
Yeah.
But I suppose doing a show like what you're doing now, and being with the group of guys back together again, you must get a little bit of that back, don't you?
Yeah, you get the good bits of it back. Obviously, the bonus is you're not getting shot at, so it's like that's pretty cool. You're like, why does this feel different?
Yeah, exactly. We're shooting at you. Yeah, exactly. So we mentioned earlier about the tour. We've got to mention it again. So this is a tour that you're doing in theatres and stuff all across the country as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit of insight in the tour then, because it's been hugely popular. That's the reason why you're continuing to go out on the road.
Yeah. So the tour's basically I wrote a couple of books, and it's a sort of like.
Got a best-selling books, by the way.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to say. My English teacher's probably going to watch this and be like, how did that happen?
My cookery teacher's going to look this. My cookery teacher looks this every Saturday and thinks, how did it happen?
I got an E in home ec.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's more than...
None of it was about cooking, though. What temperature do you boil your clothes on?
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be a chef.
Exactly. Right. And then look, so tell us about, you've done the books, your best-selling books and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about the insight for the tour. If anybody's not been, what can they expect?
It's me bringing to life some of the stories in the books and some extra, but then also it's the backbone of it is my journey with mental health to a certain degree. That's what it hinges on. But I'm there chatting away, you know, sometimes getting it wrong, sometimes getting it right, and then telling a few funny stories along the way, especially when it comes to, like, the show. There's a lot of funny stuff that happens within that.
Because that's been I mean, you've been here all morning, and off camera, you've been chatting away to the crew and everything else, you know. The stories that you must have, but the stories that you keep hidden, it must be just...
I always think that they should... Like, one day I'm going to do a book that I'm not allowed to do. Probably on my deathbed it will get released. With all the stories that were never allowed to be released.
So, look, we've got our little pasta over here. So this is this orzo pasta, which we can then drain off. Let me use a bit of that. Thank you very much. We'll drain that off in there. And I'm going to continue cooking this. So you just almost... Like you typically do a pasta dish anyway, but we've got... This is the tin tomatoes. I've got garlic, I've got chilli, we've got star anise in here, lots and lots of olive oil, and then I put the clam mixture in there, and then you kind of just throw everything all in. We've got the pasta, the basil, and we just chuck it all in. This is one of the great things about this. You chuck it all in. A little bit of white wine, which we've got with the clams. That's going to go in there. In we go with our pasta, and it starts to cook all this lot down. Clams can go in. That's all going to go in there as well. They're all going to go in. These ones can go in now. They can go in. And then I'm going to get this Michelin star chef, because there's a reason why you invite all these Michelin star chefs on the show. That's because you can get the seasoning right, you see. So if you want to check the seasoning out on that, Chief, that goes in there. Keep going. See, that's what it's... Yeah.
He's good at that.
Right, I'll give you some butter. You can finish off this fish. Look, you can take the butter. There you go. You can finish off napping that over the top. Nice and simple. A little bit of butter over the top of the fish. And then this is now ready. I like this. Got 3 plates. Because unlike the rest of these chefs, I actually cook for all of our guests that are on the show. And the crew. You see? Rather than this one pigeon breast between 16 people. Look at that. Bit of that. Bit of that. Now, the key to this, you've got to watch out for the star anise, because you'll need a dentist. So you've got to be careful with the star anise. Look at that, chef. That'll do. Beautiful. Lift that on there. That on there. And that one on there. And then a nice drizzle of olive oil. And I don't think that's a bad dish that's cooked in 6 to 8 minutes. For people at home, that's not bad. My salmon with orzo pasta, tomatoes and star anise. And a few clams. Easy as that. There you go. Jason.
Thanks very much.
Mr. Ainsworth.
Thank you.
Kenny.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Dive in.
Oh, the
Wow.
tree just elevated, doesn't it?
Tasty paste
Oh,
food.
beautiful.
No,
Wow.
that little bit of salt changes it. It's tasty, doesn't it?
That's amazing.
That olive oil and all the juices
So
from
you
the
were,
clams.
it's like 8
stunning.
minutes. I don't know what you lot have been going on about for years. This is 8 minutes, you got yourself some supper. Done. But that's it. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all my guests. Jeff Higgins, Kenny Atkinson, Brian Turner, Paul Ainsworth, and of course, Jason Fox. Good luck with the tour.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll see you back at the same time next Saturday morning. We'll be joined by more amazing chefs. Pip Lacey will be here, Ronnie Murray, and Good Morning Britain's Laura Tobin will be here. Until then, take care, stay safe, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you next week at my house. Bye for now.